In my lifetime, I've experienced a ton of education. Not only my K-12 education, but also my undergraduate degree. I have 2 graduate degrees, and I can tell you unequivocally, the best education that I've had is being married for more than 30 years. In that personal experience, the relationship that I have with my wife, and we don't have a perfect relationship. By any means do we have a perfect relationship. We have a committed relationship and a good relationship, and we value our family. That's what we have come to understand. Now, I don't know the condition of your life. I don't know where you're at. I hope that you have a wonderful relationship. I hope it's wrought with everything that you ever wanted in that, and you nurture it and you keep it strong and keep those things going. That is ultimately where we're headed. It's not a simple path to get there. There is and will be contention along the way. Contention is the part of the process that we have to work through. Now, I'm not just talking about the relationship that we have with our spouse. That's an important one, yes. I'm also talking about the relationship that we have with our children. If you have children, you know that there will come times where they will contend with you on certain things, and you will contend with them on certain other things. You know, it reminds me of a joke I once heard. This young man who was approaching his 16th birthday wanted to get his driver's license. So his father made this particular deal with him. And the deal was that, son, if you will cut your hair and be respectful to your mother and do well in school, then you can go ahead and get your driver's license. He came back to his father and said, well, Dad, I certainly will be respectful to Mom. I certainly will work hard in school. And then the son got cute with the third one, and he said, Dad, Jesus had long hair. And his dad wisely looked right back at him and said, yes, son. And he walked everywhere he went. Now we think about that. We think about the conflict that could have arisen there. But it wasn't. It was diffused. It was made something different. Now I realize that's just a joke. But oftentimes we get deeply entrenched in something because we're really protecting ourselves. We're not thinking about the other person. And that is the key. If you want to minimize the conflict, then don't regard it as conflict. It's that simple. We have to look at it and say, what's truly important here is the relationship. The relationship reigns supreme. I personally have had countless opportunities in which I could have defended myself, I could have defended my position, and realized that in that moment, that position, that thing, whatever it was not worth defending. Why? Because the defense of that would come at the price of the relationship. The relationship is truly what's most important. And if I value the relationship, I value the individual. And I value the individual first, meaning I'm going to work to try and understand. Let me understand your point. In fact, let me try so hard to understand your point that I understand your point as well as or better than you understand your point. That's hard. Dr. Stephen R. Covey taught us in the 4th, 5th, and 6th habits, he taught us how to really, truly seek somebody else's position. Seek first to understand. As we do that, then we can shoot for what he called win-win. But we can't shoot for win-win, or we have to have the attitude of win-win going into that. If we have the attitude of win-win, meaning that, you know what, my position probably isn't totally right, and your position probably isn't totally right, but together we can come up with an alternative that's probably better than what either of us would have come up with. When we value the relationship over what it is that we might contend about, whatever it is that we might fight about, when we value the relationship more than those things, then we will set a foundation of understanding. We'll set a foundation that says, you know what, we can work through pretty much anything. We just have to understand it from one another's point of view, and because of our mutual respect, we'll get there. This can be with your spouse, this can be with your children, this can be with your close friends. There's so many ways that this can apply. It's hard work though. It's easier just to defend. You know, in conversations you have with your children, how easy is it to just tell them your own home movies? You're just telling them the story that you went through. Then the story that you went through may or may not be relevant to them. Times change. From generation to generation, times change. They always have. They always will. And our relevance is in the relationship. The relevance is, I love you. Let me help understand where you're at. And if you don't know where you're at, let's see if we can explore and to find out that together. Once we work on that end, then we can persuade. Then we can work forward from there. You know, one of the main tenets of influence is that the person being influenced wants to be influenced. And unless they're ready for whatever it is that you're going to share with them, it can be taken way out of context and way misconstrued, and that then will lead down a path of contention. Now, it's very clear in Scripture that contention is not one of the Christian tenets that we want to espouse, right? We don't want to argue. We don't want to fight. That doesn't mean we want to back down. It simply means that we want to value the relationship first. Christ didn't back down from the things that he knew were wrong, but he valued the people that did them. Does that make sense? He forgave you and I, sinners, because he loves us and he values us, but he could not excuse the sin. He didn't justify the behavior. He simply understood it and said, you know what? Look, you're bigger than the behavior. You're more than what you do. And that's the key. In our relationships, especially in our personal relationships, because those are the people that care the most about us and we care the most about them, then we want to value them over whatever it is that we happen to be discussing or whatever it is that's creating the contention. We can work through the contention if we value the individual. I remember clearly one day we had a young girl as a foster child that was living with us. And she came to live with us, I believe, early in the week. I don't remember exactly what day it was, but I'm pretty sure it was early in the week. And one of the things that we did with all of the foster children that we had in our care was they had regular chores. Within a day, they were given chores to do. We found it very valuable to them and to us to assign chores for every child that came in that was capable of doing chores. So this young girl, I believe 7, 8 years old, 9 years old maybe, was given chores to do. Well, one of her chores was to make her bed and get dressed. Well, she came out for breakfast one morning, and this was a Saturday morning because I remember I was home, I was watching this happen, and she was kind of pushing the relationship. She was really getting to the point of trying to test her boundaries, right? She had a habit of saying that she was going to take her own life. She was going to kill herself. Now, these were idle threats that she was leveling, but she obviously had learned that by doing this with her parent, she could get whatever it is that she wanted at the time. So this one Saturday morning, she came out, and my wife simply asked her in a pleasant tone how she slept, and she had a very tart comeback to that. And she was ready for breakfast, and she was going to sit down and have breakfast. And my wife said, did you make your bed? Because that was the rule, make your bed before you come down for breakfast. And she then threatened to kill herself. And she raised her voice and started yelling at my wife. She said, no, I'm not going to go make my bed, and you can't make me. And if you do, then I'm going to take that knife up there and I'm going to kill myself. And so my wife, in a very calm manner, just looked her right in the eye and said, that would be sad for you to do that, and if you're going to do it, you're going to do it in timeout. The girl went to timeout, sat down. Never again in the time that we had her did she threaten to take her own life. If we have contention internally, if our private experience is contentious, that's something we have to work on. That was the previous podcast. If we have contention in a relationship, it's because either one or both of the people in a relationship don't value themselves and the other person enough to simply have a discussion and work through an issue. They create an argument. They create a problem. I've done it. I let emotion get the best of me and don't channel those emotions in the appropriate way. I forget at the moment that the person that I'm talking to is more important than whatever I'm talking about. And I get caught up in that and ruin it. And then have to go back and apologize, right? Because you repair the relationship. What are we apologizing for? For allowing ourselves to forget that the relationship is more important than the issue. So the next time you get tempted to contend with one another, you might consider, is this issue more important than the person that I'm talking to? It will change everything. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you listen. Please subscribe to the podcast and please tell your friends, anybody that you can tell that we're out here so that others can benefit as well. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you on the next Primacy Podcast.